Om. 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 Samasta jana kalyani niratam karunamayam namami chinmayam devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Life is a mystery for most. Sometimes exciting with its hopes and expectations, other times disappointing with its tragedies, failures, and sorrows. Makes us sometimes think, what is life? What is the purpose of life? Is it pointless? And we forget that when certain joys come in our life, to be followed by sorrow again. But for those who inquire and continue to inquire sincerely and seek, jin khojya tin paya. Those who have sought to find out the secret in the mystery of life, they find that life itself reveals its wonders. And life becomes wonderful. And those who have discovered that eternal truth, not only life is a wonder, not only every moment is wonderful, they themselves become a wonder. Their presence, their actions, their behavior, their knowledge is a wonder themselves. Their achievement, their influence, their inspiration, everything is a wonder. And whenever we come across such a personality who is a wonder, our limited individual personality cannot but get attracted to such a Sreshta Purusha, such an admirable personality, and be attracted that we very easily and spontaneously follow that path to perfection, to wonder, without even wondering, can I do it? Without even sitting back and brooding over our limitations. For whom or what we admire, we subconsciously, spontaneously imitate. Therefore, any hero in your life or heroine in your life, a star, even a movie star, that you begin to admire, you will naturally imitate. And here, imitation doesn't mean a cartoon-like imitation, but you will naturally follow. Your mind gets attracted to that way of action, to those actions, to that kind of behavior, to those values, to those goals, to those visions. The path to perfection, the path to that wonder, to become wonderful, becomes so easy, so spontaneous, that we do not even look back at our own failures, our own limitations. Philosophically, we can understand a lot. We study the scriptures and know a lot. But each time when we think, we feel that the goal is impossible. It is very hard and difficult. It even sounds impossible. And we think that we cannot do it. But when we see someone who did it, who is doing it, and we see that wonder in that personality and see that personality as a wonder, we do not sit back, but are lifted. Uttishtata. We are lifted immediately into activity, into action with the Spirit. He did it, she did it. And these great masters, these great people demonstrate to us with the example that I did it, so can you. And such people are indeed great. This wonderful secret that has been revealed by Sri Krishna, Yadyad acharati sreshtah tattad devetaro jana sayat pramanam kurute lokas tad anuvartate. Lokah tad anuvartate. People easily follow what? Whatever a great person does, or whom anyone looks up to, admires, and those who are admirable, whatever they demonstrate in their life and are evidence to, that people easily emulate in themselves and follow. I was with Pujya Gurudev, Swami Chinmayananda, traveling when I was a brahmachari right after the Vedanta course at Sandipani. And we had gone to Manila, the Philippines. There, traditionally, with reverence, whenever a Mahatma came home, they would offer their Pada Puja, simple offering of flowers, and even to say that my wealth is in your service, they would offer coins, which Pujya Gurudev then would pick it up and give it back to them as prasad. So that we always remember that whatever wealth we have, whatever beauty and fragrance we have or vasanas we have, we offer at the feet of the Lord, symbolized in an idol or those in whom we can see divinity, such as our parents, Guru. And after offering, what we receive is prasad, and when we receive the prasad, we know that it has been given to us. They had a toddler who was naturally toddling around there, seeing what his parents were doing, while I was chanting the 108 names and offering the flowers. So were the parents offering the flowers. And after the offering was over, Puja Gurudev handed over the coins to all of us. When the parents and the people went to make arrangements, Gurudev was sitting with his loving glance watching this toddler. I was sitting beside at his feet, and this toddler came and did whatever he saw was being done. He picked up the flower and offered it at Gurudev's feet. Then he sees me and picks up the coin and hands it over to me, not at my feet, but in my hand. I was trying to tell him that the coin also you offer at Gurudev's feet. Gurudev incidentally was speaking on the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita during that Jnana Yajna discourses there. And Gurudev smiled, looked at me and he said, see, yadyadacharati sreshtaha tattad devetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate. How this child sees, and therefore in parenting also, it is not what you tell your children, instruct your children, or lecture your children. It is what you live and demonstrate. Here this child saw that flowers were offered at Gurudev's feet, and the coin was given in the brahmachari's hands by Gurudev. He saw both in robes, and he knew that something had to be given and offered. And Gurudev laughed. He says, see, he saw that flowers are being offered to the big Swami, and the coin is given to the small brahmachari. This is in our nature. And how beautiful is the path where we in our life come in contact with such Sreshta Purusha, such admirable men and women of achievement. And in that, those who have understood the mystery of life, those who have found their inspiration and come to know their infinite self and the infinite self in everyone, everywhere. For such people who can see that unity in diversity, that oneness in the plurality, that fearless, that loving person who sees oneness everywhere, whose every action is out of fulfillment and love, bringing happiness to everyone as we want happiness for oneself. When we come in contact with such a Sreshta Purusha, indeed only they can be called as the best. And one child told me a very nice vocabulary. Gurudev is the bestest. Our Gurudev is the bestest. that bestness, when we see, Sri Krishna says, the path becomes very simple. We only have to gain inspiration from their life and just follow it. For he did it. Let's not sit back. Get into action and do it. Such a Sreshta Purusha has been Pujya Gurudev, who got his inspiration and full of faith because he could see his two great masters, Swami Shivananda and Swami Taponji Maharaj. And we come in that great parampara. Yadyadacharati sreshtaha tattat deveta rojanaha. And so did Sri Krishna, who himself did not want anything, had nothing to gain even in the middle of the battlefield, even as the stalwart of that time, or the king of that time, who did not even take kingship of his own kingdom after securing the kingdom. That Krishna tells Arjuna that do not escape action. Do not give up when you have to confront failure. Act. Because as long as we live, even sustenance of this body is not possible without action. But act not like everybody acts, with frustrations, anxieties, stress, disappointments, because we are attached, obsessive with our likes, dislikes, desires to the fruits of our actions. And because of that, we limit the expression and dynamism, the joy and thrill that can arise in doing an action efficiently, beautifully, magnificently, just because we remain attached to one fixed, selfish desire, wanting that alone as the result, where the potential to be happy moment to moment and even in getting any result whatsoever. This has been demonstrated by Sri Krishna, who is the teacher of the Gita, and by our Gurudev, who expounded the Gita to millions of people and demonstrated with his life that the service of the people is the service of the Lord of Lords. And therefore, how to act when Sri Krishna has told Arjuna that those who doing action, which he calls with the right attitude, buddhi yoga, come to that secret, come to know that secret that lies like an open book everywhere, which lies within us every moment. And when our minds unperturbed by or undistracted by the changing objects, situations, relationships of the world, remain steady, unperturbed, and even after gaining the knowledge of the scriptures, when a person acts with single pointedness, with only one goal, to by dedicating their actions, their thoughts, every second, every action, those with such single pointedness, who are undisturbed by the pairs of opposites, unperturbed, when they get this knowledge of the infinite truth, which is Shantam Shivam Sundaram, Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. Satchidananda, Shantam, peaceful, Shivam, auspicious, beautiful, because it is Ananda, bliss. Those who discover this permanent, peaceful, blissful self, and their mind and intellect becomes firm and steady in it, then such a person has attained yoga union. That knowledge by which our intellect becomes free of any wavering or doubt and remain steady in this knowledge. That Atma, which is ever same, changeless, permanent, bliss, that state is called as Samadhi. The state of being with yourself, meditation. All other methods are practice for your intellect to become sama in the Atma, the self, which is sama. This Samadhi, when Arjuna heard this, that Arjuna who had fallen there feeling that I cannot fight, my bow, my instruments of actions are falling off me, I am trembling, I cannot face this situation, I am not capable of it. That Arjuna's eyes were full of that look of childlike wonder and asked Krishna, wants to know from Sri Krishna, who is this person of perfection? Who is the one who is steady in his or her knowledge? We also gain this knowledge. We also hear the spiritual knowledge. And in Chinmaya mission, so you have got a library of knowledge. In Hinduism and Vedanta, you have a complete, when you say university, it is indeed a universe and a city of knowledge. But how? Who, moment to moment, lives in this knowledge, blissful? And Arjuna, in his enthusiasm, this Arjuna asked the question, Sthita pragyasya ka bhasha, samadhisthasya keshava, sthita dhir kim prabhasheta, kimasita vrajeta kim. Arjuna, who has got a childlike innocence and therefore does not hesitate to ask any question, does not feel that what will my teacher think about me with my image, but in his childlike purity, at the same time, children get so easily inspired, and the curiosity to know about the moon, the sun, the star, and great people. Arjuna, with that enthusiasm, asked Krishna, Sthita pragyasya ka bhasha. One who has got steady knowledge, firm abidance in the knowledge, that special knowledge that reveals our infinite blissful nature, ka bhasha. How is that person described by great people themselves? Because the public either criticizes or glorifies people and next moment destroys them. How is such a great personality spoken of by or described by great people? Sthita pragyasya ka bhasha. Actually, Gurudev used to laughingly explain this verse and say that Arjuna's question is just like a little child's question. What is the language does such a realized master speak? Is it some blabbering that we don't understand? Or does he speak in some mysterious alien language? Samadhisthasya Keshava. Hey Keshava, one from whom rays of knowledge are emanating, just as hairs are rays. Hey Keshava, one whose intellect has become sama, hushed in that silence. Stitadi, ones whose intellect has become steady. Kim prabhasheta. How does he speak? Kim asita. How does he sit? Vrajeta kim. How does he walk? Do you know, whenever I have our youth camp, and especially every year, we have our international global youth camp. And after the Upanishads or the Bhagavad Gita, every night in front of the bonfire, all the youth who were probably not even born before Gurudev's Mahasamadhi, they sit and constantly they tell us, tell us, tell us, tell us about Gurudev. How did he walk? How did he talk? Tell us some incident with him. With the same enthusiasm, I used to ask Gurudev about his Guru, Sri Tapoyanji Maharaj, about whom even he would become speechless. Kim ka bhasha? How can he be described? And I used to sit there foolishly thinking that I am going to grab every experience which I foolishly share with everyone who come in contact with me to tell how great and glorious was our Gurudev and in whose presence what we felt. I even asked Gurudev this question. Gurudev, I knew he would never speak about Sri Tapoyanji Maharaj, and by that time I can understand that such a great master cannot be described. So I said, Gurudev, and I was a brahmachari then, people were talking about other great masters and asking Gurudev, because he had met some great masters during his time, such as Ramana Maharishi and others. And they were asking him and he was telling them some things. And many years I wanted to ask him about Sri Tapoyanji Maharaj. And all we could see was those tears of devotion in his eyes, lost in meditation. And he would become silent. And if anybody would ask him, tell us about him, he said, what can be described? Brahman cannot be described. Tapoyanji Maharaj is Brahman and he cannot be described. So I put it the other way and I said, can you tell us some incident? And by that time, I was already a brahmachari. So he looks at me and he says, incident? In the infinite, there are no incidents. There is no experience of the experiencer, experience and experienced. And that day, he revealed to us what is samadhi and who his Guru is, who is in that samadhi. This question, Gurudev would laugh and say, is like a child's question. But just as the mother understands, and he used to, in his hilarious example, say, I go to people's home, they give their little babies to me in my arm. Swamiji, my baby, bless me. Most babies will just look at the bearded man and start crying. And he says, thankfully so, for those who come into the laps of the Swami, they pull his beard and go glue, 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 glue. And the mother says, Swamiji, my child is saying he likes you. He says, very painful love it is. But what Arjuna is asking is that how can such a great man attain that state of equanimity? How can you describe such a person? One who is constantly in meditation, constantly aware of the knowledge of himself, whose intellect is free of doubt, not distracted, not setting other desires and goals, but steady. Does that person speak? Does that person express himself in the world? Does he speak? And if he speaks, what does he speak? Or does he become silent in that experience and become speechless and sits in meditation like a statue or a rock on a rock? Kim prabhasheta? Not realizing that the greatest Sthita Pragya, Bhagwan himself, is speaking and talking to him. Kim prabhasheta? Kim asita? Does he sit? And if he sits, how does he sit? Bent with humility or erect and steady in meditation? Kim asita? Does he walk? And if he walks, how is his walk? Arjuna wants to know such a Sreshta Purusha. Kim prabhasheta? How does he experience or describe the world? What is his vision of the world? Does he or she sit? And even when we sit, life's experiences comes to us. Life's experiences come to us. Even if you do not want, experiences come. Sometimes heat, sometimes cold, sometimes joy, sometimes sorrow, pleasure, pain, they come. How does he experience what comes to him? Vrajeta kim. When he or she travels around, moves around, do they just sit in one place or they move around? And if they move around, serving the humanity, so many experiences they would have to encounter. So many people that they would have to encounter. So many praises as well as criticisms that they would have to encounter. How do they maintain that peace? How do they remain in constant bliss? Tell me, O Keshava. When I was asking Gurudev, in midst of those people who were asking Gurudev about his Guru, his master, he would become silent. Here they were asking about other great masters. So I said, why not I ask about our own master? But he even said that even incident cannot be described. But every incident with him that inspired us, that led us, that can be. And that is what in the sessions that follow, with the knowledge of the Gita, what we saw directly, how he demonstrated the way we should live to reach where he constantly abides. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.